October 14th, 2002. That date will stick in my mind forever. That is the date my family decided to move into a small New England town, only known by the name Glenridge. It's one of those towns that are so small, it barely shows up on a map. You'd have to search it specifically, area code and everything. One of those small towns where everybody knows everybody and, well, knows everything about everybody. I was nervous. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to leave the city. I didn't want to leave my friends. I was just beginning to make friends. But my nervousness was completely undermined by my excitement about seeing a new house. I mean, for the first part of my life, I had lived in an apartment building with my family, which consisted of my mom, my dad, and my younger brother. I really don't think he remembers much of this day. He was only 5, but I remember. We turned on to an old dirt road, which I soon learned was our new driveway. My parents were glowing. My dad held my mom's hand tight, and she couldn't stop smiling. In all honesty, it was the happiest I'd ever seen them. My brother sat in his booster seat, asleep, and I looked out the window. My nervousness was slowly washed away by pure amazement. After living in the city for so long, I totally forgot how big trees actually were, and to a 7-year-old, they may as well have been skyscrapers. It was about mid-October, so the leaves were at that perfect peak color, that yellowy orange and red. The ground was covered by those that had already fallen. We parked and I stared at my new home in amazement. It was an old colonial style home surrounded by a thick pine forest. Back then I was bummed that there wasn't an arcade or anything around. Nowadays most people might like that kind of thing. I never got used to it. I hopped out of the car. Even with my jacket and beanie on, the wind still stung my face every time it blew. It was a very crisp day. The sun was shining bright. The birds that hadn't flown south for the winter were singing, well, cawing, I guess. All there really was crows. Apparently, my dad had come here early and met the moving truck. We were apparently all set. There were just the boxes in the car that we needed to take care of. I grabbed my stuff from the trunk. I assumed the rest of the stuff was just for my parents and my younger brother. I started walking up to the house.
Hey, turn around.
My dad yelled. He tossed me the keys to the new home.
Go on in and check it out. Your room is already set up.
Smiling, I turned around and walked up the front steps to the door, stuck the old key in the lock and turned it. The door creaked open slowly as I pushed it. The house, though it had all our furniture in it, felt cold, almost unwelcoming, almost dead inside. It's the only way I could describe it. This wasn't a home. This was just a structure with our stuff in it. I felt a sadness in the pit of my stomach, missing the city. I sighed and started walking upstairs, leaving the door open. The house was already cold. I don't think I have to worry about letting the heat out. I walked up the old wooden staircase to the top floor. To my left was a bathroom, and to my right was another hallway, with another branching off of it. I walked down to the end of the hallway. My room was on the back end of the house. I opened the door. The cold feeling still didn't change. Though I will admit, my new room was bigger and I kinda liked that. It still just didn't feel the same. But I guess it was nice to have my own room finally. I shut the door behind me and started unpacking. I opened the box and started putting my folded clothes into the dresser. I opened one of 2 boxes I was carrying. The first one containing whatever clothes hadn't already been moved. I started putting them in the empty drawers of the dresser. The second box was the one I really cared about. I finished that up as quick as possible. In the second box were all the toys, action figures, and pictures of me and my old friends. It made me sad looking at the pictures, knowing that I probably wouldn't ever see them again, not at least until I was much older. I set the picture of me and my friends from my most recent birthday party down on the nightstand that sat next to my bed. I didn't like the layout of my room. I didn't like the fact that my bed was facing the window. I don't know why, it just scared me. I walked over and looked out the old wooden framed window. I had a view of the backyard. The clear patch of backyard we had extended about 60 feet and then dropped off a hill into the deep, dark pine forest that surrounded our home. I could hear my parents talking downstairs. Honestly, I didn't even care what the rest of the house looked like. There was a bathroom at the end of my hall. I didn't need to go down there. I didn't want to go down there. My dad called up to me and asked if I wanted to help unpack. Considering I had nothing better to do, I reluctantly said yes. As we walked back to the car, he told me excitedly about how we have so much room to run around and play and do whatever we want. I guess it would be kinda cool to go look in the woods, I said. My father suddenly stopped me.
If you're gonna play in the woods, be careful. Don't go beyond our property line.
This confused me. As a 7-year-old, I don't think I could ever make it to our property line because my father had just gotten done telling me on the car ride over that we had about 17 acres. I didn't really care about what was in the woods. I kinda really just wanted to get the internet hooked up, talk to my friends, and just pretend I was still in the city.
Hey, the sun's going down. once you bring that box in the living room, go talk to your mom and tell her to order a pizza.
I did as my dad asked me. I knew he was trying to cheer me up, but in all honesty, it wouldn't help. It wouldn't make anything better, and it wouldn't bring me back to my friends in the city. I walked in the front door once again and took an immediate left. Walking into the kitchen, my mom was putting away pots and pans and dishes. Seeing her put the dishes in those old dusty cabinets made me sick to my stomach. I don't know how long those had been there or how long it's been since they've been cleaned, and now what I put food on is touching it. Ugh. Hey Mom, Dad wanted me to let you know that he wanted you to order a pizza. She smiled, said okay, and then pulled out her phone and started talking. I walked into the living room where my brother was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, lost in a daze. Hey, I said, trying to get his attention. He continued staring. Hey, I said again. Still no response. He was entranced in whatever cartoon he was watching at the time. I can't remember. Hey, I said, this time giving him a slight shove.
What?
Want to go check out the woods?
Why would you want to do that?
He asked me. I don't know, it's the only thing to do around here. My brother was a good kid. Though we had our problems, he was always the more composed type, even for a 5-year-old. And I guess he knew I was bored and wanted to do something, so he humored me and followed me to the forest, out our back door. As we walked in, I heard my dad shout something along the lines of,
Be careful and don't go beyond the property line.
Me and my brother walked in the woods in silence for a couple moments, just kind of taking it all in. I was awestruck, but I honestly didn't want to let him see that. I don't know why. It was a stupid 7-year-old pride thing. Maybe I was trying to be cool. I don't remember. But he certainly loved the forest. We walked through the forest and he picked up 2 sticks. He tossed me one. Here, it's like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. You like that stuff. I smiled and grabbed the feeble walking stick. We talked for a little bit about building a treehouse and some of the stuff we could do out here. Maybe bring the Nerf guns out. I don't know, kid stuff. I barely remember the conversation we had. I really do wish I could remember it better. As we walked, suddenly my brother extended his arm in front of me and stopped me. In the ground was a neon orange pole. It stood about 4.5 feet high. What? I said, looking at him. That's the property line. Dad said we can't go beyond that. He whispered in a hushed tone as if someone was going to hear him. That's the property line? 13 acres my ass. My brother looked taken aback that I had said the word ass. I rolled my eyes. I went to step for it and he grabbed me suddenly. There's something bad back there, he whispered. Can you see it? The hell are you talking about? I strained my eyes to look through the dark pine forest. Even with the setting sun, it was still hard to see. There's like an animal or something back there, he whispered. In case it was an animal, I wanted to get the hell out of there as fast as I could. I didn't want to let him see that I was scared. I was supposed to be the big brother. First, we slowly started walking, and then we heard a twig snap behind us. Our walking quickly turned into a light jog, then to a run, and then to a full-blown sprint. We have to tell Mom and Dad, he said. Dude, no, we can't tell them. They will never let us go back there again. And if we can't go back there, we don't get a treehouse. He sighed, and he looked like he was having an internal argument for a couple moments, but eventually conceded, okay. After eating dinner and watching some TV, I went up to my room to fall asleep. Though, I don't know if I could fall asleep. I was really nervous about school the next day. So nervous that I felt myself getting sick. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling for a couple hours. I couldn't fall asleep. I felt uncomfortable. Like I was a stranger in my own home. Well, I was a stranger in this home. I kept looking out the window my bed faced. There was something wrong. I didn't want to look out the window, but I just kept doing it. It eventually bothered me so much that I took one of the sheets off my bed and stuffed it over the curtain rod so I couldn't see out of it anymore. Then I could finally fall asleep. The next morning I woke up to the sound of my screaming alarm. The house smelled of fresh coffee and breakfast food. The scent of blueberry waffles drifted through the air. I dragged myself out of bed and put on my clothes and got ready for my first day of school. I ate, even though my stomach was twisting in knots. After pulling my coat on and grabbing my backpack, I stepped out the front door. The cool October air stung my face. My brother followed soon after. We sat at the bus stop, waiting for the sound of the engine. My brother suddenly looked up at me. So what do you think that thing last night was? I don't know, it was probably a deer or something. What if it was a bear? I don't know, wouldn't surprise me. I guess it is the woods. Bears live in the woods. I was totally disconnected from the conversation. Before my brother could ask what I thought at the time was another stupid question, the bus pulled up. We got on and the bus driver gave me a quick smile. I sat down in the first empty seat I saw. My brother sat with me. The bus driver kept looking at me in the mirror. So, you're Spencer and Willie, huh? Yep. I said, that's us, faking a smile. Which one's which? The bus driver asked. I'm Spencer, I said, and this is my brother Willie. Well, I look forward to having you on my route every day. You seem like good kids. The bus driver was a generally polite woman. I later learned that her name was Suzanne. Alright, day's going well so far, I said to myself. Thinking back on it, that was kind of stupid, considering I had literally just sat on a bus and had a conversation. Probably something she says to all the new kids. I was trying to keep myself happy, but it wasn't working. I missed my old school. We rumbled down the road. Stop after stop, I knew we were getting closer to the school, and my anxiety grew more and more. Eventually, we pulled into the Glen Ridge Elementary parking lot. I felt like I wanted to throw up, didn't want to be here. I just wanted to go home and hide in my room. My brother walked into the building alongside me. We walked down the hallway filled with kids laughing and talking with their friends. I walked my brother to his classroom. I dropped him off. Alright, meet me out front before getting on the bus. He smiled and waved at me as he walked into the classroom. I slowly walked down the hall to mine. I was sitting in the room as kids began to come in and take their seat, all of them looking at me, knowing I was the new kid. A scrawny kid with dark hair sat next to me. He looked at me for a couple seconds. I finally just looked over at him. Hi, I said. I don't know why I was saying it as a question. So you're the kid who moved into the child murderer's house. What? I was shocked. Who the hell starts a conversation like that? Yeah, I saw that house was up for sale and someone finally bought it. Did you move in there? What house are you talking about? The one up on Maple. My heart sank. I knew there was a reason I didn't like the house. Yeah, I guess that's me, I said. So, what happened there? I don't know why the hell I asked. Some guy apparently went crazy and kidnapped a bunch of kids in this town a bunch of years ago. They say he and the kids went missing after a couple days of the search. Oh, and I'm Evan, by the way. Hi, Evan. I'm Spencer. Evan and I got to talking. I found out a little bit more about my house than I wanted to, but he and I actually became fast friends. We sat together at lunch. We talked about basic stuff like having fun and what's there to do around the town, but oddly enough, I wanted to know more about this guy who lived in my house. So, Evan, what else do you know about the house I'm living in? Oh, not much, but I hear my parents talking about it sometimes, though. The rumor in the town goes he kidnapped a bunch of kids because he went crazy and he thought some monster was talking to him. They never found the kids. The rumor goes that he dragged them deep into the pine forest and buried them alive. The thought made me shudder. Apparently the guy's name was like... oh, what was it? He started scratching his head. I was literally sitting on the edge of my seat, waiting to find out more about the mysterious man who had lived in my house. Was he really a psychopath, like they're saying? Oh, what was his name? Oh, right, Conrad Willems. Conrad Willems. I actually thought I'd heard that name before for some reason. Maybe it's something my parents were talking about. Either way, the uneasiness in my stomach was no longer about being in a new school or making friends. It was about the potential psychopath who lived in my house before me. The rest of the day went pretty standard. Had to introduce myself, and people tried to talk to me, and I really had no interest. I really wanted to learn more about what happened in my house. School had ended, the bell rang. I walked down the hall talking to Evan. Oh, hold on, man. I gotta wait for my brother. No, it's all good. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. He patted my shoulder and walked away, disappearing into the mob of children trying to get to the buses. I sat and waited for my brother. We had about 30 seconds until my bus left. Maybe he was already on it, or maybe he got picked up or something. I walked towards my bus and sat down. I didn't see my brother anywhere. He had to have gotten picked up. He knew what time the buses left, and he was usually a pretty responsible kid. I got off the bus and walked down my long dirt road driveway. The sun was starting to go down, and it cast long shadows across everything. I felt uneasy. I mean, it was only about a 10-minute walk to the house. Something was weird. Something was really off. As I got closer, I noticed the tail end of a police car sitting in my driveway. I dropped my bag and ran inside. My mother was on the couch in the living room crying. My father had his arm around her. There was a police officer sitting across from them.
Son, Spencer, go upstairs. I'll be up in a minute.
My dad said, in a very flat tone. I sat upstairs wondering what was going on. There was obviously something wrong, and I didn't want to upset the situation by not listening to my parents. So I sat in my room, nervously twiddling with my fingers. My dad came up with the police officer behind him.
When was the last time you saw Willie today?
Why? He walked away from the school at recess and no one's seen him since. The last time anybody saw him, they said he was playing by the trees and he went into the woods. The teacher went into the woods after him but couldn't find him. When was the last time you saw him? When I dropped him off at class.
Son, if there's anything else you can tell me, you need to tell us right now.
Dad, I don't know what's going on. Last time I saw Willie was when I dropped him off at class. I waited for him at the bus outside the school, but he never got on. I figured he got picked up or something.
I need you to stay here.
my father said, shutting the door and leaving with the police officer. My brother had apparently just gone missing. My world was spinning. I had no idea how to handle it. That night, I sat in my room, staring at the ceiling like I had done the night before. But now, something was different. Even with a makeshift curtain over my window, I still felt like something was looking in at me.